Hi Taff, I wanted to personally congratulate you on all your hard work and efforts. May your channel continue to grow, and may you succeed in your endeavors.
Thank you, not totally AI generated Caucasian man. And now for the video. Yo, what up? It's your boy Taff from Geekafrique, and today it's gonna be a totally different video. Today it's a celebration of culture, a celebration of beauty, a celebration of black. Today I'm doing a dedication video to the Blerd community. So please stay with me as we go through the influence and the effect of all Blerds I've come across, past, present, and hopefully in the future. So I also wanted to just look into a lot of like the Blerds in terms of historically relevant Blerds. So if you know, there have been some that for a long time have always existed in the community who have always been like a beacon of it, you know, regardless of whether or not they knew they were starting up that type of community. Some ones that we'd have to give out shouts to LeVar Burton, aka Geordie LaForge on Star Trek, or if you don't know him as that, Kunta Kinte on Roots, quite a massive player. Nichelle Nichols, Uhura from Star Trek. Interesting fact, apparently she was actually pushed into the role by Martin Luther King Jr. himself, as he felt it would be great for the integration of the culture. So, you know, the king himself is always going to have an influence in everything. Mae Jemison, the first black woman to go into space, who herself was actually inspired by Uhura. So obviously a massively influential character, someone that would obviously constantly be featured in Black History Month. And of course, an old friend, Billy D. Williams. And if you don't know who Billy D is, well, shame to you, because I think he's probably one of the most recognizable characters ever. But if you need a reminder, that's Lando Calrissian from Star Wars. And in terms of his influence, it's obviously pretty noteworthy. He was probably one of the most famous black characters. He was probably the first cool person to ever hang out in space. And yes, that is part of Blerd Community. It's bringing an edge of cool to everything. So I think it gives you a reason to want to be part of the society. But ultimately, we are starting to come more out of our shelves, especially now with cosplayers. We've got Blerd artists, people who are trying to do Blerd style anime, people trying to make Blerd style cartoons. The Boondocks had to have been one of our biggest step forwards into the culture in terms of making a stand and telling people that we exist and we are here. And I will always consider it one of the greatest animations that's ever been made by black people for the world. Mostly for black people, but definitely for the world, you know. And it's because of the recent mainstream of nerd culture that nerd culture is also continuing to evolve. And just like Pokemon, we are breaking out of all types of stereotypes in regards to it, and we are starting to really push forward in regards to this. I think for me personally, why it's such a big thing recently, I mean, there are just so many people to look up to in this community. I mean, if we're going to talk about current popular Blerds, for me, I talk about people like Donald Glover, people like Aisha Tyler. If you don't know who she is, she's Lana from Archer series, and she does have voice acting credits in Halo and Gears of War. Issa Rae from Awkward Black Lady, Insecure, and she did have a starring role in the black produced comedy Little. And ultimately, she is like one of my biggest crushes ever. I'm just so in love with Issa Rae. And Neil deGrasse Tyson, a man I have so much respect for, legendary astrophysicist and massive Rick and Morty fan. He also was pretty much the star of the hit series Cosmos, which I've watched on repeat, both him and the original Carl Sagan version, his version being a spiritual successor. And obviously he was chosen because ultimately his path into astrophysics was pushed by Carl Sagan himself, and Carl actually had very much recommended that he get into the industry, and even tried to get him to join him at Cornell at the time, even though Neil ultimately chose to go to another university. But I do remember them mentioning that in his recent biography. I was watching it the other day. But the whole point to all of this is that I got so many people in this industry that I can look up to, so many people who've influenced the type of people I am, so many people who've influenced the type of thoughts I have, so many people who've made it feel natural, feel normal to be this type of person, you know, feel normal to love the things. In Africa, acceptance is minimalized. I mean, it is growing as time goes by, as we go on. People are starting to open and accept more and more culture, more and more ideas, more and more things from the outside, but generally speaking, it's still pretty backward, and we still find ourselves in a position where certain mockeries are made of certain ideas. You know, if you discussed an anime you loved, or you discussed a cartoon you enjoyed, they would just refer to it as a popeye, which is basically a local slang term for the fact that they would be referring to cartoons, and most common cartoons that were known back in the day was Popeye, because that's what used to basically air the most here in Africa. So it has obviously created that issue. When you try to talk about video games, you do tend to get a negative response, unless you're referring to more popular local titles like FIFA. And obviously, being from Africa, football is one of the biggest sports here ever, and I'm a huge football fan, of course, but we also start recognizing that sometimes when you need to diverse, you struggle. I have my friends, obviously, who I'm close with and who I game with, people I hang with, people I spend my time with, people whom I converse with in Discord. But you generally find that when you're someone might be in a community that I'm in, you're a little lonely, you know. You don't have a lot of people to talk to about this. You don't have a lot of communities to converse with. You don't have many people who embrace you, or who embrace how you think, or agree with it, or think that that's cool, or, you know, have a fantasy about, you know, a girl coming to you and deciding she wanted to have coitus with you while dressed like one of the chicks from Sailor Moon. I mean, seriously, I mean, the whole idea is that I'm just grateful as I'm aging in what I'd probably say the best generation, that someone who has developed the mind I've developed, contrary to the fact that I've never spent a day of my life in a Western quote-unquote environment in terms of living in the US or living in the UK. I've always lived in Africa, but I guess I've always had so influenced by this culture, so influenced by Western culture, so influenced by just the fact that it was all about creativity and imagination. I love the fact that there are people like this. There was a day back in the day when you would talk about anime, and the first thing people would ask you is, well, the first people would respond is, that's for white people. And I used to hate that kind of stuff, because I just don't remember reading a sign that said that. Even music, I don't remember a sign or some kind of thing that says white people only or black people only. I hate it, because I feel like it perpetuates an unnecessary issue. We're all trying our best to stomp it out. You know, stereotypes are terrifying. They can be entertaining, but they are terrifying. Because at the end of the day, when we choose to live a stereotype, instead of rather accepting it as a possible part of our existence, we only continue to perpetuate the negative aspects of it. And this is what I love about the Blerd culture. It's that it's a complete breaking of stereotypes, complete breaking of the norm, it's a complete breaking of the culture, it's a complete like people coming out of the woodwork, you know, dudes with dreadlocks, dudes who sip on lean all day, out here talking about, you know, Sonic lore from the comic books. I didn't even know Sonic had comic books. I mean, that's how amazing it is to me. I mean, I thought I knew quite a bit, but every day I'll be introduced to something else, and I just love it. It's the best thing ever. So this is my big shout out, my big, you know, shout out to the community, from all the people I've featured in this video, from all the Instagram profiles, from all the people I've discussed. It's just my way of saying I'm so happy I'm part of this community, and I just can't wait. I just love that it's growing so much, and I'm just happy to see it all come to fruition, and hopefully we just become bigger and better as we continue, no matter who wants to be a part of it. And that's my video, guys. I really hope you enjoyed it. If you did make it through to the end, thank you for watching. Please do like, share, and subscribe. Turn those notifications on. And do stay tuned to Geekafrique.